he got some aura points in my book.
I mean, I think we all unanimously agree that hitting somebody with a car is probably not a good thing.
And again, personally, not a fan, not even I wouldn't even consider myself a viewer, okay? Everything I've seen against him has been without my consent. But I can't sit here and pretend him hitting somebody with his run somebody over wasn't low-key like that, bro.
Bro, Jesus. Whoa. Wait, is that the guy that's always like following people?
Yes, the folks ordered to his house.
Why is Aiden Ross giggling like that, though? You can't even make it up. Now, I'm not a lawyer in Florida by any means, but does this fall under self-defense or something much worse? And can what he said immediately after the video today, bro, he is not taking it seriously. Thankfully, nothing bad happened and the person is still alive. The argument in this situation is, was that level of force necessary? ChatGPT doesn't think he's going to jail tomorrow, but he is in legal danger. I don't know who this guy is, but he's straight up spreading misinformation as clickbait based. Anyway, if Clivicular doesn't go to jail, that would be very amazing for him, but not as amazing as our unemployed merch. Get yours now, westjet.shop. Discount code RED for 10% off.
In a way that was directly intended to benefit Joe Biden and hinder Donald Trump's chances of winning that election.
And I don't agree with that suppression.
That's what I mean.
But how was anyone arrested?
What do you mean arrested?
Was any free speech violated that the government stepped in and arrested someone?
Well, I just told you the story of Graham Linehan, who was arrested.
At the Heathrow Airport?
Yeah.
In the UK?
Yeah.
You don't have free speech in the UK.
Well, that's part of the problem, I agree.
That sounds like a UK problem, not a US problem.
The US has a big problem.
So it has a problem, but where has free speech been violated because of cancel? No, you gave me one at Heathrow Airport.
I'll give you the New York Post example.
Who has been arrested? As a result of cancel culture, because someone has said something that was either bigotry, racist, sexist, whatever it is, and people are not entitled to have viewers based on their opinions.
I'm not saying that.
If people disagree with you, they can say, "Oh, we're not going to watch you anymore." They're going to go out on social media and say, "Hey, everybody, let's stop watching this person because he came out as racist."
100%.
Okay, that's not a violation of free speech.
No, Sharon Osbourne was fired, as I just told you.
Also not a violation of free speech.
Of course it was.
49 states are at will employing states. Companies can fire you for any reason that is not related to discrimination.
I agree.
So
I've already said that you're misunderstanding.
You're misunderstanding me.
I've already said that companies are perfectly entitled to do what they like. They're private businesses, right? So CBS was perfectly entitled to do it. But was it a violation of Sharon's free speech rights that they did? Yes.
No, not a violation. It was suppression. I don't agree with it.
What's the difference?
I think she didn't get arrested for what she said.
Well, violation doesn't mean you get arrested.
Yes, being violated of your free speech, being able to not...
I can violate you without it involving arresting.
No, that is what we have in the Constitution that is protected. You can say and do whatever you want.
You have better protections here than we do in the UK.
I agree. But your speech is protected. You can be as hateful, as angry, as misogynistic as you want to be, and people can hate you for that.
Yeah.
Consequences, you do not have a right to be on a platform and get to say whatever you want.
Sure.
You can.
But if I say,
you can, but people don't have to watch
If I say right now on camera, I think you should be shot dead, that is actually a criminal offense.
No.
And I would be arrested.
If you said you wanted to shoot me dead, or you're encouraging people to shoot me dead, that is not protected free speech. That is a threat.
Correct. It's a crime.
You saying I should be shot dead is
so
free speech.
My point being,
and that makes you look like a terrible person.
Right. Not all. Yeah, I agree. So,
and you're not going to be arrested for that.
I've already made the point that hateful speech has to be tolerated in a free democratic society.
I agree.
Right. Where it passes the bar of criminality, then obviously the law enforcement take over, and that's how it should be. The problem comes, and it's been more of a problem in my country than here. I agree, but I do think in terms of suppressing free speech, what was going on with things like the New York Post story being suppressed was absolutely disgraceful.
I agree. We're not disagreeing on that.
Good.
Your claim was a
let's end on the point of agreement. We end up agreeing. I love that. Barker, you're too annoying. Nick, I've chosen Nick to come back for the final debate, which will be his debate, because he impressed me during our conversation earlier, and that cannot be said about everybody that's sat opposite me today. So, Nick, come to the chair.
Good to talk to you again.
Welcome back.
My surrounding claim is that discussions of woke politics are merely a distraction from our common enemy, the billionaire class. So, as I just said, I think that these discussions of woke, whether we're saying that the problem in society are because of broke graduate students or people that are being mean to us on Twitter, ultimately it's all secondary to what really unites us. I think that it's woke to talk about the fact that the middle America, the industrial heartland of Britain, have been hollowed out by forces of globalization, outsourcing jobs to places like China, or India, or Malaysia, or Vietnam, and that he's talking about trans athletes, talking about what people choose to identify themselves as. It's all so unimportant, and 80, 90, 95% of what actually matters is what's going to put more money in people's pockets, what's going to let them have a dignified life for them and their family. And talking about wokeness, whether it's dead or alive, it's just a distraction, and it's really not important or relevant to most of our lives 95% of the time.
Okay, I think you can. The first part, I agree with globalization. I think it's spot on. And also, I'm not trying to claim that the wokeism, cultural war issues are more important than globalization, the impact, as you say, the various billionaires around the world having too much power and money, with the disparity between them and poor parts of society getting bigger and bigger. I have very strong views about that. Nor am I trying to say that the debate about pronouns is in any way as significant as a debate I have all the time about the war in Gaza or the war in Ukraine. I just think you can have all these debates at the same time, and to pretend, as the woke left do, that none of these cultural wars cut through or matter is to be completely deluded. And I would simply say to you that there was a UN report came, and it said, I think it was 2024, nearly 900 medals in competitive women's sport, to come back to that issue we discussed, had been deprived of actual women because trans athletes had won them. That's a staggeringly large number of girls and women who've been deprived of their rightful medal competing in women's sport because of the altar of trans activism driven by the woke
See,
class.
this is my trouble, Pierce, with talking about trans athletes, because functionally you're talking about 900 medals given out to people. I don't know.
Not enough for you?
My thing is that an 8-year-old winning a track and field meet doesn't really affect me.
What about Riley Gaines?
California.
What about Riley Gaines, who's written the campaign? Well, what about Riley Gaines? I mean, why should Leah?
This is exactly my point. No, but this whole discussion of trans athletes has nothing to do with what actually matters to people's lives.
I don't agree with you.
You're talking about it
with all due
it
respect.
Gets a lot of clicks.
No.
Gets a lot of viewers,
I don't agree with you.
books.
I don't agree with you.
And these other issues are much more important. But
you know who leads that campaign of saying no one cares? The woke left. Most of whom think it's absolutely fine. Most of whom think someone like Riley Gaines is the enemy
this is
for
the
standing
problem,
up
Pierce,
for women's rights.
Is you're saying that we have time to debate all of these issues, but practically we know that society prioritizes different issues.
How much time do you think I spent on the Israel-Hamas war compared to wokeism in the last calendar year?
A lot of time was spent on the Israel.
Give me a percentage.
A lot of people have died.
Give me a percentage of how much time I personally devoted to one.
I'm not sitting here with a stopwatch going how much time is spent on one. What I know is not nearly enough time is being spent on homelessness, poverty.
Fine.
These are the issues that really matter.
There are a million issues. You may not care about the trans athlete issue. I can tell you millions of people do. Who are you, all due respect, to have the arrogance to tell people what they should be caring about? You can compare.
I'm not trying to tell them not to care about it. I don't think it should be at the top or even in the top 10 of the issues they actually are talking
That's
about.
entirely your prerogative. But you should not be arrogant enough to assume you know what people care about. I know from the work I did on this book and this tour I've been doing and the conversations I've been having, a huge number of people do care about this. They genuinely have felt that the woke left have turned the world into a joyless, horrible place where everyone gets scolded, vilified, cancelled, shamed, and sometimes shot because of what they're saying.
But this is the
and I think that does matter.
Of social media and the way that public discourse works. Instead of talking about the issues that are the most relevant to people's lives, I'm not talking about whether they care or not, but I'm talking about relevance.
Okay.
How much it actually matters to your life.
Okay.
Do
you have any kids?
I do not have
Okay, if you had a daughter, I've got a 13-year-old daughter, she's showing no sign of doing this, but if she had aspirations to be an Olympic, for example, would you feel differently if her Olympic flame was taken by a trans athlete?
I do not want anyone's Olympic dreams to be crushed, but I think that their ability to get a well-paying job is much more important and something we should be focusing on.
Then you made it clear you think that the Olympic dream is irrelevant.
I much prefer to focus on the American dream than an Olympic dream.
So you have your things that you care about. I respect that, right? A lot of people will
But again, Pierce, I think everybody cares about these things, but they don't work people up as much, and so it doesn't get as much airplay.
Of course they do.
No, we all know that if this was a discussion about the minutia of healthcare policy, it would not get as many viewers as an hour-long conversation about trans athletes.
But you don't
Come on, we know this.
You don't think that issues, for example, like the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, get people angry and passionate?
If it bleeds,
motivated?
it leads. Of course that matters. Of course.
You don't think
war and peace is incredibly important?
You don't think the issue of globalization and the impact on people's jobs and lives is not being something that's a lot passionate, angry, animated debate?
I think it gets far less airtime than it deserves, because what we see is that whether you're on the right populist side or the left populist side, they've all got their fingers squarely aimed at the puppet masters pulling the strings behind our whole system. But it's the people in the middle, and this is what I wish people would really understand at home. It is not the left that pushed woke politics or identity politics. It was neoliberals who wanted to have the current system maintain the status quo, but give people who hadn't had a stake in that system more representation within it. But the fact is that for most people, whether the CEO of Lockheed Martin is a trans black woman does not matter. What matters for most people is whether they have a job that actually is able to pay the rent,
I would say,
that they can have a hope of owning a home, that they can marry who they like to. That stuff matters.
It only matters if the black trans leader of a company has only got that job because they're black and trans and not on ability. Because then you move into a country and society which prides itself on mediocrity over meritocracy. I believe in opportunity for all at the bottom run. Once that ladder starts, I believe only
it's all
the most
irrelevant.
people
The people getting tens of millions of stock options are not my priority.
You know what
the person making minimum wage is my priority.
The best quote about DEI I've heard was Stephen Pinker. He said that rather like the Holy Roman Empire, which ended up being either Holy Roman or really an empire. That's what DEI became. It's supposed to be diverse, equal, and inclusive. Ended up being none of those things. And that's the problem. So we should be looking. One of the good things about this conversation, it's been a conversation. I don't think enough of this happens. People don't scream at each other. I've actually found this an engaging environment to talk in. I like being challenged. You've all given me a little something to think about. You in particular, that's why I brought you back. These are good conversations to have. I'm not saying you're intrinsically wrong. That your priority list is not more important. I think it probably is. But I also think the idea that millions and millions of people around the world, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, do not care about those other issues is deluding.
But this is why I chose the prompt that I did, because I know that when I get upset about something, it clouds out a lot of other things that I should be thinking about, but I get so focused on the thing I'm angry about. This is why woke politics has become such a useful canard for people of all political persuasions, because it does get people upset, because it does get to basic issues of identity and belonging and meaning. And when you undermine it, people do get really upset. And what that does is it takes away their emotional and intellectual bandwidth from the things that would materially improve their lives. And that is why I think that this whole conversation, not that it's not important, but it should not be crowding out, as it is in our public discourse, all the other issues that are so much more important. That's why you saw, I know you don't agree with Mamdani in New York. Mamdani did not run a campaign on woke politics. He aimed it squarely at cost of living, affordability issues, and he won more votes than anybody in New York City in the last 60 years.
He also promised, like all good socialists, he's going to give everyone everything for free. And let me tell you what's
I'll tell you what, buses are free for most people in New York already.
Let me tell you what's going to happen with Mamdani. You can take this to the bank, because socialism has never worked anywhere in the world for any sustained period of time. Mamdani is going to let down all the people that voted for him, because he will not be able to afford to do anything like the stuff he was going to do. You can take it to the bank.
This is where I agree with you, Pierce. Definitions matter. Socialism is about public ownership of the means of production. Zoran Mamdani is not proposing seizing, JP Morgan's building.
He literally said he wants to take control of productivity.
I have not seen him say
He's a communist.
He is not a communist.
Literally, that is the rhetoric of a communist.
He is not a communist. And again,
if you want to drink the Mamdani Kool-Aid, fine with you, right? He is a communist.
I think it's good to have more candidates like
New York has never had a guy
like Mickey Sherrill, like Mamdani, who focus on cost of living and affordability. Speaking to the issues that actually matter in people's lives. Child care being $50,000 a year. We may disagree on how to provide that child care, but you're speaking to an issue that affects 80% of families, 80% of parents.
I agree.
So let's talk about that more.
I agree.
Trans athletes, with all due respect, brought up Riley Gaines. There might be a couple of others. But we're talking about vanishingly small.
No, we're not.
And what I'm concerned about have is the little girl who just wants to be on a team, who just wants to participate in the community. And I look at all the young California children who saw trans athletes participating, and they didn't care at all, man. So why does everybody else, when the kids get to this,
here's what happens. I know you're going to get your little roundabout.
I know, it's easy.
But here's what happens. The little girls grow up and they get to be riding games and they're actually competing for a living, and this is their livelihood and their dream, and they dream of getting to win competitions to get to the Olympics.
Well, luckily, Riley didn't become anything.
Wait a minute.
Did she?
Well,
she's just a commentator.
Actually, she did become.
Her Olympic dream was sadly never going to be.
You may be glib about it, but actually what happened was a 6'3" biological male came in and began to destroy the integrity of women's swimming in America. You may not think that matters. I do. That's why I talk a lot about this. That's why Riley's been brave to talk about it. That's why J.K. Rowling was brave to talk about it. And the idea that I know, you can all vilify J.K. Rowling. I don't even like it. She hates me. She called me a disgusting, toadying Trump apologist on Bill when I was on Bill Maher once when I got told to fuck off. So I've got no truck for her whatsoever, right? But on that issue, I've loudly supported her. Which is kind of what I feel about the Trump thing, by the way, is that the hysteria that goes around him, it doesn't help anybody. You're better off saying, well, Trump does something good. For example, if I was to ask you as a group, is it good that Trump has basically shut the southern border down after the Biden administration let in 10 million people illegally over that border in 4 years? And that may be a conservative estimate. Is that a good thing? The honest, intellectually honest answer should be yes. Are there issues now about the way ICE has been going around picking up undocumented people who may have built their lives here, contributed to society and so on? Absolutely.
I'm glad you made the point for me, so I didn't have to.
Absolutely. So there are caveats to my support for the overall policy. But on the southern border, everybody should be able to say that's a good thing. And they should also applaud Trump for trying to forge peace in places around the world where there is war, be it Gaza, where he got the hostages out,
You'll never hear me
or Ukraine. So my point is, if the hysteria just dials down a touch, and actually we try and do what we've done here, right? Bring people a bit more together, have a bit more consensus, give credit where it's due, criticize where it's due, but sometimes agree to disagree. You know, I'm not saying you're wrong with your priority list. I'm just saying that I think to exclude these other things is disingenuous from my perspective, but I think it is important. But we can agree to disagree. And I'm not saying that your priority is in any way invalid, because it's not.
Well, I think we found some middle ground here.
Yes. Sure. Yeah. You know what? Just in case they want to end. You know what, Nick? I've always hated you.
Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it.
I think he's intentionally not really aligned with either. I think he likes to punch the left from the center. I think he likes to punch the right from the center. I think he's kind of all over the map depending on the issue he's talking about. So I don't think that you can neatly categorize him into this block or that block, which frankly I think we need more of in our politics.
I literally still, even after debating him and hearing his takes, still have no idea who the fuck he is.
The problem I have with a lot of the wokies when it comes to the debating, I do feel like they've been infected with a weird virus, which gives them a kind of self-righteousness. Their positioning is not only right, but it's the only acceptable worldview. I have grown, I think, more intellectually honest as I've got older about accepting when I've been wrong. You've got to know that when facts are facts, and if facts change in particular, you've got to move where the facts go. You mustn't be intransigent. Your worldview, even if it's science and biology combined, is the only acceptable view.
I recommend anyone reading books that they fundamentally disagree with. So if you are somebody who considers himself woke and liberal, read it. If you are a conservative, you'll get just confirmation bias.
bandit pit stop.
Weapon overheated.
systems regenerating. Systems fully restored.
I am Garcia the Gregarious, trader and traveler, merchant of fine merchandise? Please, who may you be?
I may be Walker. Are we really speaking like this?
Well, of course. That is how we show our caliber. And that is why you want to trade with only me. My wares are quite superb.
Let me then scrutinize.
sport.
Scanning complete. Welcome to ARC 408A. You have successfully installed ID accession, Grav Jump. With the Grav Jump accession, you will be able to perform an extra gravity-defying jump in mid-air. Accepted. requirements are complete. Goodbye.
Systems regenerating.
Walker, listen. We're still gonna meet Mayor Lusum, right?
It's one of them bandit dens again.
Destination reached. Weapon overheated.
one of them bandit dens again.
Destination reached. Weapon overheated. Activating. Systems fully restored. We're here, Sport.
Sentient life form approaches.
It's one of them bandit dens again.
you can do to stop us? You think you're tough enough to come and take it back? Huh? Do ya? We sure could use a target practice. Hear me, glisten success! We got bigger buddies than you now! Bigger, badder guns, and we're bigger, badder goons! So you better just take a bite out of that shit sandwich and swallow it like a big boy!
Camera's all but finished. It's looking real good. There's one extra little piece of the puzzle I'm lacking. Sent out my infiltrator, Gulo. You know, twitchy little critter. But she's gone missing. Starting to think she might be in trouble. Looks like I'm gonna need your help again, Ranger. Swing by my armory, will you?
Okay, I'll be there.
Defenses online. Defenses alive and ready to deploy. Elimination process failed. Enter transition. Initiate weapon phase. Gamma. Unauthorized personnel. Present identification immediately for safe access. Defenses online. Defenses online.
Systems regenerating. Partial integrity restored. Systems regenerating. Destination reached.
The logs. on an arc. Jackpot.
But this girl needs some shut-eye. Initiate manual repairs. Initiate manual repairs at the front.
Security scanning complete. Welcome to ARC 404C. You have successfully installed ID accession defibrillation. The defibrillation accession is integrated into your ranger suit. In the event of lethal damage during combat, it will give you a chance to defibrillate your own heart, allowing you to fight on. According to previous test subjects, this will hurt.
Generating. Systems fully restored.
Have you taught those refinery thieves about
Later.
feeling about that encounter?
Yo.
What you think, Patsy?
You new in town as well? I used to be a man of means, you know. I ran a little.
Gotta go.
Hey, don't mess with me, pal. I know shit. And I've got nothing to lose.
Hey, Walker. Down here. Ranger?
So, what's the problem?
Problem is, Gulow's missing. And without her intel, we're dead in the water.
How so?
Well, the Scrambler should get you past the authorities' security check. The thing is, I need to calibrate it to the current authority sex system, or else it won't work. Sent Gulo out to recon, and she went dark. Right before you got here, I get this. A dispatch, finally.
Marsh, Gulo, I located an old authority hall. I think I can use the uplink inside to access the authority current, find out what sex system they're using.
But there's trouble, Marsh. Some immortal shrouded are creeping the hills too, looking for tech and kills. I'm staying low, keeping my eye out.
We've got a defiler spy! Grab her! Bring her back to the Orin Roofs!
Marsh! I'm found out! They got me! Marsh!
The immortal shrouded are some sick puppies. They torture for sport. We need the coordinates to that authority hall. And I'd prefer if my best spy remained alive.
Yeah, here's a secret. They're not immortal. They die just fine. I'll get her out.
Well, good luck, Ranger. Do bring that twitchy swill sponge back alive, will you? Try to avoid getting killed. Yeah, I'm surprised.
Step up or step away. This is Claw Hand Mechanics. I'm Helga. I'm bad with names, so don't bother with yours. What have we got here? Art tech, huh? And all that fancy crap is gonna cost you extra. Needlessly overcomplicated piece of junk.
Why the attitude?
I'm a ray of goddamn sunshine. You should meet my husband. Now, do you want an overhaul or not? No refunds. Job done.
My IFF is picking something up. Ranger signal?
Might be one of ours. Ranger gone MIA. You should find out what happened.
We found our fallen comrade. I'll add their name to the toll.
Good job. Let's take the tag back to the Presidio later. Tom would like that.
Authority sentry. Meteor.
Seer the gregarious, trader and traveler, merchant of fine merchandise? Later.
I may be Walker. Are we really speaking like... It's one of them bandit dens again. your neck roost?
Good. Gulo carries a locust device. Go-to tech for any infiltrator. It'll be emitting a signal that you'll be able to pick up on this frequency.
That's pretty nifty.
Destination reached. Shields detected. Try alternative weapon.
Gulo. Dead. The signal's still active. I'm sorry, Gulo. This will get a little messy.
Marsh. The shroud has made me. Couldn't run. Locked up in a trunk recording this. Guessing I won't see you again. Gotta tell you, you're about the only righteous person I've ever met. Coordinates to the authority holes on this locus. I'm gonna do like you taught me and swallow this thing whole now. Hoping they won't cut me up for it. You'll be tracking the signal to find me, I'm sure. Adios, friend.
Marshal, bad news. I found Gulo. She's dead.
God damn. I'm gonna miss her. Adios, I guess. Till I see you on the other side, old friend.
She gave her life for this. The locus. It's got the coordinates to the authority hole.
Then go. We need to figure out what sex system they're using.
I'm on the way. At least their last recon will not have been for nothing.
Amen to that. She'll be walking right next to us in this fight.
A new flashpoint has emerged between the US and China, and this time it's about India. Yesterday, Beijing lashed out at Washington. It said that the US was trying to sow discord between India and China. Listen in.
This U.S. report distorts China's defense policy in an attempt to sow discord between China and other countries and find an excuse for maintaining its military hegemony. China firmly opposes that.
The language from Beijing was unusually sharp. It sounded like an accusation of sabotage. So what triggered this comment? What was the Chinese spokesperson talking about? This statement was in response to a recent report. It was published by the US Department of War, earlier known as the Department of Defense. Now, every year they submit a report to the US Congress. It updates US lawmakers about China's military and security posture. This year's report had a section on India, specifically on the thaw along the India-China border. The report talked about that. Now, as you know, this border is contested. It has seen many flare-ups over the decades. The latest one was in 2020 in eastern Ladakh. It led to large troop deployments on both sides, in India and China, and it led to prolonged military tensions. Finally, there was a thaw last year when the two countries reached an agreement. They announced a disengagement. This was followed by a series of confidence-building measures. Direct flights have resumed since. Visa rules have been eased. And Prime Minister Modi travelled to China earlier this year. He attended the SCO summit in the city of Tianjin. It was his first visit to China in 7 years. And America has taken note of all of these developments. Their report makes some observations about this. It says China is trying to use this détente to slow down India's deepening ties with the US. In other words, China is trying to stop the US from getting too close to India. That's what the American report says. It says China wants to quote-unquote capitalize on the reduced tensions. The report also notes India's response. It says India remains skeptical of China's motives and that mutual distrust and unresolved issues will continue to limit the India-China relationship. That's not all. The report also talks about China's interest in Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is a northeastern state in India. China claims it as its own. They call this Indian state South Tibet. That's what they call Arunachal Pradesh, South Tibet. The Chinese claims have no basis in history or in fact, and no international recognition whatsoever. But that has not deterred Beijing. It continues to provoke India. It releases distorted maps and it gives Chinese names for territories in Arunachal Pradesh. It also harasses Indians from the state when they travel to China. Only last month, an Indian from Arunachal was detained in Shanghai. She was detained for 18 hours. Such harassment is a way for China to impose its territorial claims. The US report underlines how China is asserting itself on this matter. It says China now considers Arunachal a quote-unquote core interest. Sure enough, Beijing had a rebuttal on this too.
China views and handles its relationship with India from a strategic height and long-term perspective, and stands ready to strengthen communication, enhance mutual trust, promote cooperation, and handle differences properly with the Indian side to advance bilateral relations on a healthy and stable track. The China-India boundary question is a matter between the two countries.
Basically, China is telling the US to back off. It says the boundary issue is a bilateral matter. It's for India and China to sort out. Now, Beijing may have a limited point here, but this whole story must be seen in perspective. India shares the concern that the US has raised. China's military posture, China's territorial assertiveness are both a challenge for India too. And that is why, despite the thaw, India continues to fortify its border. New Delhi is spending more on border infrastructure, especially in the Himalayas. This is managed by the BRO, the Border Roads Organization. This is an Indian government agency. It manages India's border infrastructure. In 2020, the BRO's budget was around $280 million. Now it has reached $810 million. The BRO is building more roads and tunnels along the China border. Thousands of kilometers of new roads have already been built. India has also built 30 new helipads, 30 new helipads, and upgraded multiple airstrips along the China border. So when it comes to China, India is preparing for the long haul. It is stepping up its defenses. It is trying to reduce its dependence on China while also managing the differences through diplomacy. And for this, India will have to work with like-minded partners without being boxed into alliances that limit India's strategic choices. I'll give you an example. India is talking to the US to join a new supply chain bloc. It's a US-led group. It is called PAC Silica. This is a new alliance aimed at critical minerals and silicon technologies. More importantly, it is designed to counter China because China dominates the supply of critical minerals. It controls up to 90% of their processing. So with PAC Silica, the US is laying the foundation for an alternative. And leading economies are already a part of it, like Japan, South Korea, the UK, the Netherlands, the UAE, and Israel. The US wants India to join the group. Reports say it could happen as early as next year. Chances are Beijing won't be comfortable with all these developments. At the same time, India-US ties are also strained. They're strained over trade. And Beijing may try to exploit this. So this is a complex mix. On one side is China, which is India's belligerent neighbor. It wants India's territory and India's markets. On the other side is the US, India's biggest trading partner that is weaponizing tariffs and visas. For New Delhi, this is not an either-or choice. The only way forward is to work with both without giving in to either.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is First Post Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.
गेम है। वो कहावत है ना, चोर चोर मौसेरे भाई, ये हमारी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज पर एकदम सही बैठती है। हम कहने को कह देते हैं कि बीजेपी राइट विंग पार्टी है, कांग्रेस लेफ्ट विंग पार्टी है, बट असल में दोनों ही एक्सट्रीम लेफ्ट विंग पार्टीज हैं। दोनों ही फ्री स्पीच को खत्म करना चाहते हैं, दोनों ही वोट बैंक की पॉलिटिक्स करते हैं और दोनों ही एंटी मिडिल क्लास नजर आते हैं और दोनों ही सोशलिज्म को भर भर के प्रमोट करते हैं। रीजनल पार्टीज का तो इनसे भी बुरा हाल है। सिर्फ पावर में आने के लिए उन्होंने लैंग्वेज इशू को इतना बड़ा बना दिया है कि एक ही देश के लोग एक दूसरे के दुश्मन बन चुके हैं। नेशनल लेवल पर चूज करना हो तो कांग्रेस और बीजेपी सिर्फ दो ही ऑप्शन दिखते हैं। इनके अलावा कोई थर्ड फ्रंट की सरकार बन ही नहीं सकती है। इसीलिए मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हमें एक नई नेशनल पार्टी की जरूरत है। लेकिन क्या ऐसा पॉसिबल है? इस नई पार्टी के वैल्यूज और प्रिंसिपल क्या होने चाहिए? क्या भारत को एक लिबर्टेरियन पार्टी चाहिए? इन सब क्वेश्चंस पे थोड़ा डिटेल में बात करते हैं। आइए देखते हैं। भारत में आजकल फ्रीबीज का कल्चर चल रहा है क्योंकि इससे सबसे ज्यादा वोट्स मिलते हैं। लेकिन फ्रीबीज से लॉन्ग टर्म में देश का बजट बिगड़ता है, जिस पे बहुत कम लोग बात करते हैं। लॉन्ग टर्म में देश की जीडीपी की ग्रोथ तभी होगी जब देश में छोटे बड़े हर साइज के बिजनेसेस खुलेंगे, जिससे लोगों को डिग्निटी वाली लाइफ मिल सके और जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज पैदा हो। और ये देख के मुझे अच्छा लगता है कि छोटे बड़े हर साइज के बिजनेस आज देश में धीरे धीरे से खुलते जा रहे हैं। लेकिन किसी भी बिजनेस को चलाने के लिए अकाउंटिंग सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट लेकिन कॉम्प्लेक्स और बोरिंग काम होता है और इसी को सिंप्लीफाई करने में आपकी हेल्प करता है ओडू। ओडू एक ऑल इन वन मैनेजमेंट सॉफ्टवेयर है जो आपकी बिजनेस की हर जरूरत को पूरा करता है। ओडू का अकाउंटिंग ऐप आपके हिसाब किताब और रिपोर्टिंग को बिल्कुल एफर्टलेस बना देता है। अकाउंटिंग में जिन चीजों को पहले पेन एंड पेपर यूज करके रिकॉर्ड मेंटेन करना पड़ता था, उनको ओडू अकाउंटिंग ने डिजिटाइज और ऑटोमेट कर दिया है। अब आपको बिल्स की मैनुअल एंट्री करने की जरूरत नहीं है। बस पीडीएफ या जेसन फाइल को अपलोड कीजिए और ये सारी डिटेल फेच कर लेता है यूजिंग एआई एंड ओसीआर। इसके अलावा टीडीएस भी आप यहीं से अप्लाई कर सकते हो। इसी ऐप से अकाउंट पेएबल मैनेज हो जाते हैं विद एजिंग रिपोर्ट। साथ ही अकाउंट्स रिसीवेबल और कस्टमर पेमेंट्स को भी ट्रैक करना आसान है, जिसके लिए अलग से एजिंग रिपोर्ट्स मिल जाती हैं। आपने कस्टमर्स को अगर उधार दिया है तो सिस्टम ऑटोमेटिकली ईमेल और व्हाट्सएप के थ्रू फॉलो अप भेज देता है। गवर्नमेंट कंप्लायंसेस जैसे ई इनवॉइस, ई वे बिल, टीडीएस, टीसीएस, ऑडिट ट्रेल और जीएसटी फाइलिंग, ये सब कुछ एक ही डैशबोर्ड पर सिर्फ कुछ क्लिक्स में हो जाता है। बेस्ट पार्ट ये है कि आपको डिटेल्ड फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्ट्स तुरंत मिल जाती हैं, जिससे आप कुछ क्लिक्स में अपने बिजनेस की हेल्थ और परफॉर्मेंस को चेक कर सकते हो। मतलब नो मोर डिलेज। ओडू पर सब कुछ रियल टाइम रेडी रहता है। ओडू पर आपको पहला ऐप लाइफ टाइम के लिए फ्री मिलता है विद अनलिमिटेड सपोर्ट एंड होस्टिंग और सिर्फ 580 रुपीज के सब्सक्रिप्शन में आप इन सारे इंटीग्रेटेड एप्स का एक्सेस ले सकते हो। सारे एप्स को फ्री में ट्राई करने के लिए 15 दिन का फ्री ट्रायल भी अवेलेबल है। तो अपने बिजनेस को फास्ट और स्मूथ बनाइए। ओडू अकाउंटिंग ऐप को अभी चेकआउट कीजिए, लिंक आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन से मिल जाएगा। सबसे पहले तो इस पर बात करते हैं कि भारत में एक नई पार्टी की जरूरत है क्यों। मेरे हिसाब से मुझे इसकी ज्यादा रीजनिंग देने की जरूरत नहीं है। हम सब लोगों के मन में कभी ना कभी ये जरूर ख्याल आया है कि ये सारे के सारे चोर हैं, नोटा ही सबको दबा देना चाहिए। इनफैक्ट आपने सुना होगा कि लोग कहते हैं कि भारत में आप बेस्ट पार्टी नहीं चूज करते, आप दो खराब पार्टियों में सबसे कम खराब कौन है उसे चूज करते हो, क्योंकि बेस्ट ऑप्शन कोई होता ही नहीं। देखो, जो वोटर थोड़ा भी अवेयर है, मैच्योर है, उसे पता है कि वोट किसी को भी दे कोई भी बदलाव नहीं आने वाला है, जैसे चल रहा है वैसे ही चलता रहेगा। बड़े बड़े प्रॉमिसेस सब कर देते हैं, लेकिन सबको सिर्फ अपनी जेबें भरना होता है। फिर जब लास्ट में इलेक्शन आते हैं तो लोग थोड़ा बहुत काम करवा देते हैं ताकि फिर से इनको वोट मिल सके। आप देखो ना, कितने सारे स्टेट्स ऐसे हैं जहाँ पर सिर्फ दो ही पार्टी है, हिमाचल, उत्तराखंड, राजस्थान, कर्नाटका, गोवा। इन सब स्टेट में 5 साल कांग्रेस रूल करती है और फिर अगले 5 साल में बीजेपी आ जाती है, और यही साइकिल बार बार रिपीट होती है। इनको पता है कि अगली बार नहीं तो उससे अगली बार हमें ही पावर में आना है, तो काम करें या ना करें क्या ही फर्क पड़ता है। जनता के पास भी ज्यादा कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है, दो ऑप्शन में किसी न किसी को तो वोट देना ही पड़ेगा। इसीलिए दोनों पार्टी भी आपस में खेलती रहती है, और आजकल तो फ्रीबीज का ट्रेंड चल गया है, तो उनका काम और आसान हो गया है। काम चाहे कुछ करो या ना करो, इलेक्शन में लाडली बहना, फ्री बिजली, फ्री पानी, ये सब प्रॉमिस कर दो और सारे वोट बटोर लो। शुरू में बीजेपी कहती थी कि फ्रीबीज इकोनॉमी के लिए सही नहीं होती है, रेवड़ी कल्चर बहुत खराब है।
की रेवड़ी बांधकर वोट बटोरने का कल्चर लाने की भरसक कोशिश हो रही है। ये रेवड़ी कल्चर देश के विकास के लिए बहुत घातक है।
लेकिन फिर बाद में खुद ही फ्रीबीज बांटने का इन्होंने रिकॉर्ड तोड़ दिया। आज भी 80 करोड़ लोगों को सरकार फ्री में राशन दे रही है, और अलग अलग स्टेट्स में अलग अलग नाम से लाडली बहना के अलग अलग वर्जन चलाए जा रहे हैं। जबकि बड़े बड़े प्रोमिसेस किए थे कि स्मार्ट सिटीज बनेंगे, भारत को मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का हब बना देंगे।
अगर हम चाहें तो हम 100 नए शहरों का सपना आज देश की आवश्यकता के लिए कर सकते हैं।
ये सारे प्रोमिसेस हर आदमी ऑलमोस्ट भूल चुका है। अब कोई भी स्मार्ट सिटी की बात नहीं करता है। स्मार्ट सिटीज के नाम पर ऐसे क्लॉक टावर बनाए जाते हैं। क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ हमारे शहरों में ऑल टाइम लो पे दिखाई देती है। ऑपोजिशन में जब कास्ट सेंसस को मुद्दा बनाया गया तो पूरी पार्टी और आईटी सेल दिन रात कहते रहते थे कि ये तो देश को बांटने की साजिश है, बटेंगे तो कटेंगे जैसे नारे दिए जाते थे।
क्या स्टैंड है आपका जातिगत जनगणना पे?
मेरा वही स्टैंड है जो योगी जी ने कहा, साथ रहेंगे नेक रहेंगे, बटेंगे तो कटेंगे।
लेकिन बाद में खुद ही इन्होंने कास्ट सेंसस का प्रॉमिस कर दिया। अब तो अलग अलग स्टेट में बीजेपी की सरकार सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाके लड़ाई लड़ रही है कि कैसे हम रिजर्वेशन की सीलिंग को 50% के पार ले जा सकते। बीजेपी के सपोर्टर्स अक्सर बोलते हुए दिख जाते हैं कि कांग्रेस काफी सोशलिस्ट पार्टी है, लेकिन बीजेपी प्रो बिजनेस है। जबकि डेटा देखोगे तो सेंट्रल स्कीम में जितनी फ्रीबीज इन्होंने बांटी है उतनी अभी तक किसी ने नहीं। बीजेपी हद से ज्यादा सोशलिस्ट पार्टी है अपनी पॉलिसीज के लिए। अरुण शौरी ने एक बार कहा था कि बीजेपी इज बेसिकली कांग्रेस प्लस काउ। मेरे हिसाब से बीजेपी को इससे ज्यादा एक्यूरेटली कोई डिस्क्राइब नहीं कर सकता, बल्कि बीजेपी कांग्रेस से ज्यादा कांग्रेस दिखाई देती है, क्योंकि इतने सारे करप्ट लीडर्स जिन्होंने अपनी पार्टी में इंपोर्ट कर रखे हैं कांग्रेस। रात को जिन्हें गाली देकर सोते हैं, सुबह पता चलता है कि उन्होंने बीजेपी ज्वाइन कर ली है। महाराष्ट्र में ऐसे ही है, पहले एनसीपी अजित पवार के अगेंस्ट कैंपेनिंग की, उन्हें चोर कहा और फिर साथ में आ गए, डेप्यूटी सीएम बना डाला। ऑपोजिशन वाले भी कम नहीं, लोकसभा इलेक्शन में साथ आ जाते हैं, लेकिन स्टेट इलेक्शन की बात करें तो एक दूसरे के गले पे चाकू चला देते हैं। कांग्रेस और आम आदमी पार्टी लोकसभा के इलेक्शन में एक साथ लड़ते हैं, दिल्ली के अंदर सीट शेयरिंग की जाती है, लेकिन दिल्ली के इलेक्शन आते ही कांग्रेस सबसे पहली पार्टी थी जिसने आम आदमी पार्टी के लिकर स्कैम को एक्सपोज किया। तो इनकी क्या आइडियोलॉजी है? इनफैक्ट जो कुछ कोर इश्यूज हैं उन पर तो ऑलमोस्ट सारी पार्टीज के सेम इश्यूज हैं। फ्रीबीज सारी पार्टीज बांट रही हैं, फ्री स्पीच सारी पार्टीज कंट्रोल करना चाहती है, वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स सारी पार्टीज करती है, रिजर्वेशन सारी पार्टीज सपोर्ट करती है। तो ऑप्शन कहाँ है? भारत में एक भी पार्टी ऐसी नहीं है जो ये कहती हो कि हम फ्री मार्केट को सपोर्ट करते हैं, बल्कि बीजेपी जिसे कहते हैं कि ये बड़े प्रो बिजनेस है, इन्होंने पीएसयूज में कांग्रेस से ज्यादा पैसा डाला, कई इंडस्ट्रीज में ये मोनोपोली क्रिएट करवा चुके हैं। और रही बात कांग्रेस की, तो ये इतने एक्सट्रीम लेफ्ट में जा चुके हैं कि इन्हें तो नया मुस्लिम लीग कहा जाने लगा। कांग्रेस इतनी अपॉर्चुनिस्टिक है कि पहले खुद अपने मैनिफेस्टो में फार्म लॉस को प्रॉमिस करते हैं और उसके बाद बीजेपी जब वही रिफॉर्म लेके आती है तो फार्मर्स के साथ प्रोटेस्ट करने लग जाते हैं। एक तरफ इनके लीडर कहते हैं कि यूथ जॉबलेस है, उनके लिए अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट नहीं की जा रही है, और दूसरी तरफ खुद रिजर्वेशन से अपर कैप हटाने की प्रॉमिस करते हैं। बीजेपी को ब्लेम करते हैं कि उन्होंने इकोनॉमी डुबा दी है, लेकिन अपने रूल्ड स्टेट में ओल्ड पेंशन स्कीम को वापस लाने का प्रॉमिस करते हैं। रीजनल पार्टीज का तो हाल इनसे ज्यादा बुरा है। आम आदमी पार्टी को ले लो, अभी जितनी भी रीजनल पार्टी है उनमें सबसे ज्यादा सक्सेसफुल यही रही है। कभी खुद को दिल्ली की पार्टी कहते थे, फिर पंजाब में सरकार बना ली, अब कई सारे स्टेट में इलेक्शन लड़ते हैं और कहीं कहीं पर 1-2 सीटें जीत भी जाते हैं। आम आदमी पार्टी एंटी करप्शन मूवमेंट से निकली थी, लेकिन फिर एक एक करके खुद करप्शन के केसेस में इनके लीडर जेल जाने लग पड़े। शुरू में कहते थे कि अयोध्या में मंदिर मस्जिद की जगह यूनिवर्सिटी और हॉस्पिटल बनवाया जाना चाहिए।
राम मंदिर एक बड़ा मुद्दा है, चुनाव के पहले बन जाएगा, बनेगा, या क्या स्टैंड है आपका?
मेरा स्टैंड है कि राम मंदिर और मस्जिद दोनों वालों से पूछ लो, और अगर दोनों की सहमति हो तो वहाँ एक अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी बनाओ।
लेकिन फिर खुद हनुमान मंदिर की यात्रा निकालने लगे, बूढ़े लोगों को धार्मिक स्थानों में भेजने लगे, लाइव दिवाली पूजा करने लगे, वक्फ बोर्ड को 100 करोड़ रुपए डोनेट कर दिए। लेकिन दिल्ली के पॉल्यूशन और पानी के लिए बाकियों को ब्लेम करते रहे, कभी इसको फिक्स करने की कोशिश नहीं करी। विमेन एम्पावरमेंट पर केजरीवाल जी के ये ख्याल।
मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ, व्हाट डज अ विमेन एम्पावरमेंट मीन?
सर आई थिंक एजुकेशन एंड फ्रीडम
बस
एंड हेल्थ केयर।
असली एम्पावरमेंट पैसा होता है, बहुत
फाइनेंशियल फ्रीडम।
सारा एम्पावरमेंट पैसे में है और कहीं नहीं है, बाकी सब थ्योरेटिकल है।
तो फिर 10 साल दिल्ली में एजुकेशन के नाम पर इतना ढोल क्यों पीटा? पैसे ही बांट देते। यूपी के अंदर समाजवादी पार्टी हो, बिहार के अंदर आरजेडी या जेडीयू, इन सब के पास कास्ट पॉलिटिक्स के अलावा कोई विजन नहीं दिखाई देता है। तमिलनाडु के अंदर अपने खुद के बीजेपी कांग्रेस के एक वर्जन बैठे हुए हैं और बाकी रीजनल पार्टीज कांग्रेस से टूट के बनी हुई है। यानी कुल मिला के देखा जाए तो वोटर्स के पास सिर्फ 2 ही ऑप्शन दिखते हैं। लेकिन आपको पता है हमेशा से ऐसा नहीं था। एक और पार्टी थी जो बीजेपी और कांग्रेस दोनों से अलग थी और एक टाइम पर नेशनल लेवल पर दोनों को काफी कड़ी टक्कर दे रही थी। इसका नाम था स्वतंत्रता पार्टी और ये थी भारत की पहली और आखिरी लिबर्टेरियन पार्टी। आपने राजा जी का नाम सुना होगा, ये भारत के लास्ट गवर्नर जनरल थे। ये कांग्रेस पार्टी के लीडर थे, लेकिन नेहरू की इंक्रीजिंग सोशलिस्ट पॉलिसीज को देखकर इन्होंने डिसाइड किया कि भारत को एक नई पार्टी की जरूरत है। इसके बाद राजा जी, मीनू मसानी और एनजी रंगा जैसे लीडर्स ने मिलकर 1959 में स्वतंत्रता पार्टी शुरू की, जिसमें जयपुर की महारानी गायत्री देवी जैसे लीडर्स थे। स्वतंत्रता पार्टी के फाउंडर्स ने मिलकर कुछ फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल्स डिसाइड किए थे, जिसमें इनका गाइडिंग प्रिंसिपल था मैक्सिमम फ्रीडम ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स एंड मिनिमम इंटरफेरेंस ऑफ गवर्नमेंट। ये लीडर्स मार्केट बेस्ड इकोनॉमी के फेवर में थे। इनका मानना था कि बिजनेस से रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज में सरकार की दखलंदाजी सबसे कम होनी चाहिए। ये लोग मानते थे कि भारत को ऑल अराउंड इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन की जरूरत है, जिसमें कैपिटल और कंज्यूमर गुड से लेकर स्मॉल इंडस्ट्रीज सेटअप की जानी चाहिए। इनका मानना था कि भारत में फूड प्रोडक्शन को बढ़ाने की जरूरत है, जिसके लिए लोग लोगों को फुल लैंड राइट देने के फेवर में थे। पार्टी का प्रिंसिपल था कि हर सिटीजन के पास ये राइट होना चाहिए कि उसे अपने बच्चों को कैसे एजुकेट करना है, बजाय इसके कि उन्हें एक फिक्स्ड एजुकेशन सिस्टम में फैक्ट्री की तरह डाल दिया जाए। फॉरेन पॉलिसीज में इस पार्टी का स्टैंड था इंडिया को सोवियत यूनियन की बजाय यूएस और वेस्टर्न यूरोप के साथ खुद को अलाइन करना चाहिए। इसके साथ ही इन्होंने इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को भी अर्ज किया था कि वो इंडिया की तीनों मेजर कम्युनिस्ट पार्टीज को बैन कर दे, जो भारत में आर्म्ड स्ट्रगल को उठा सकते हैं। स्वतंत्रता पार्टी के हिसाब से ये पार्टी भारत की सिक्योरिटी के लिए बहुत बड़ा थ्रेट है। आइडियोलॉजिकली ये एक सेक्युलर पार्टी थी, लेकिन भारतीय वैल्यूज और फिलॉसफी को ये प्रमोट करना चाहती थी। 1962 में स्वतंत्रता पार्टी ने अपने पहले जनरल इलेक्शन लड़े और पहले इलेक्शन में इन्होंने 18 सीटें जीत ली और बिहार, राजस्थान, गुजरात और ओडिशा जैसे स्टेट में कांग्रेस को काफी कड़ी टक्कर दी। इसके अगले इलेक्शन यानी 1967 में स्वतंत्रता पार्टी ने 44 सीटें जीतकर भारत की सिंगल लार्जेस्ट ऑपोजिशन पार्टी बनने का दावा पेश कर दिया। यानी पार्टी फॉर्म होने के सिर्फ 8 सालों के अंदर ये भारत की सिंगल लार्जेस्ट ऑपोजिशन पार्टी बन चुकी थी। यानी लोग इनके प्रिंसिपल और वैल्यूज से उस टाइम पर भी रेजोनेट कर रहे थे। इस पार्टी ने इंदिरा गांधी के बैंक नेशनलाइजेशन पॉलिसी को भी काफी अपोज किया था। 1972 में राजा जी की डेथ के बाद पार्टी में इन फाइटिंग शुरू हो गई। इसके अलावा इंदिरा गांधी के अगेंस्ट ग्रैंड अलायंस को ज्वाइन करना भी एक काफी मिस्टेक साबित हुई और इवेंचुअली पार्टी का डिक्लाइन स्टार्ट हो गया। 1974 में पार्टी प्रेसिडेंट ने स्वतंत्रता पार्टी को चरण सिंह के साथ भारतीय क्रांति दल में मर्ज कर दिया। ये पार्टी भारत में सिर्फ 15 सालों तक रही, लेकिन इन 15 सालों में पार्टी भारत की सिंगल लार्जेस्ट ऑपोजिशन पार्टी बन गई थी, जबकि जनसंघ इस टाइम पर स्ट्रगल कर रही थी। इमेजिन करके देखो, अगर ये पार्टी भारत को रूल करती तो शायद भारत काफी पहले इंडस्ट्रियलाइज हो चुका है। जो रिफॉर्म्स हमें मजबूरी में 1991 में जाके करने पड़े थे, उसकी नौबत नहीं आती और शायद चाइना और हमारे बीच जो आज ग्रोथ का इतना डिफरेंस दिखाई देता है, वो भी नहीं आता। खैर, प्रेजेंट की बात करें तो एक बार फिर से ऐसी पार्टी की जरूरत दिखाई पड़ती है। करप्शन, फ्रीबीज, अपीजमेंट पॉलिटिक्स से लोग परेशान हो चुके हैं। मिडिल क्लास को तो हर तरफ से लूटा जा रहा है और लोगों का ट्रस्ट गवर्नमेंट और गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशंस में अपने ऑल टाइम लो पे जा चुका है। इन पार्टीज की घिसी पिटी पॉलिटिक्स से भी लोग परेशान हो चुके हैं। हमारे देश में टैक्सेस तो यूरोपियन कंट्रीज के बराबर रहते हैं, लेकिन क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज से भी ज्यादा खराब है और इस वजह से होपलेस होकर हर साल लाखों लोग देश छोड़ देते हैं। और जो नहीं छोड़ रहे हैं, उन्हें अगर मौका मिले तो शायद वो भी जाने की तैयारी करेंगे, क्योंकि देश आगे बढ़ने की बजाय पीछे जाता हुआ नजर आता है। अब कोई कमेंट करके लिखेगा कि देखो हम $4 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी बन चुके हैं। देखो भैया, 150 करोड़ की पॉपुलेशन है, 4-5 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की इकोनॉमी हम भले ही बन गए, लेकिन पर कैपिटा में देखो तो हम आज भी 50 पूरेस्ट कंट्रीज की लिस्ट में आते हैं। अगर रोज घर से बाहर निकलते हो तो डेटा देखने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है। रेड लाइट पे देखो, मंदिर मस्जिद के बाहर देखो, फुटपाथ पे देखो, आपको गरीबी देखने को मिल जाएगी। इसीलिए मुझे लगता है देश को एक नई पार्टी की जरूरत है, जो सिर्फ नाम के लिए नई ना हो, काम भी इसके नए हो, सोच भी नई हो, जो रियल इश्यूज की बात करें उन्हें सॉल्व करने के लिए, टोकनिज्म के लिए। एक टाइम पर आम आदमी पार्टी ने एक ऐसे ही ऑल्टरनेटिव बनने का खुद को दावा पेश किया था, लेकिन बाद में क्या हुआ वो हम सब ने देखा है। जितने भी लोग एक टाइम पर आम आदमी पार्टी को सपोर्ट करते थे या अन्ना हजारे की मूवमेंट के सपोर्ट में थे, उनको बाद में बिलीव हुआ कि वो ठगा हुआ महसूस कर रहे हैं। लेकिन भारत को इस टाइम पे सच में जरूरत है एक ऐसी पार्टी की जिसका फोकस कास्ट या रिलीजन या लैंग्वेज की पॉलिटिक्स के बजाय इकोनॉमी पर हो, जिसका फोकस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पर हो, जिसका फोकस भारत की सिटीज को लिवेबल बनाने पर, मिडिल क्लास के इश्यूज पर जो बात करे, जो ब्यूरोक्रेसी को रिफॉर्म करे, जो टैक्सेस को सिंप्लीफाई करे। मुझे पता है बहुत आइडियल है, इन इश्यूज पर हमारे देश में वोट नहीं पड़ते हैं, लेकिन मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि अगर कोई पार्टी इन इश्यूज पर इलेक्शन लड़ती है तो अर्बन एरियाज में बहुत सारे इसके टेकर्स निकल के आएंगे, क्योंकि अब तो खुद पॉलिटिशियन भी इसकी डिमांड करने लगे हैं। ये कार्ति चिदम्बरम है, हमारे फॉर्मर होम मिनिस्टर पी चिदम्बरम के बेटे, और ये खुद एक एमपी है, लेकिन इनका भी मानना है कि भारत को एक ऐसी नई पार्टी की जरूरत है जो सिर्फ अर्बन इश्यूज पर फोकस करे, जैसे ईज ऑफ लिविंग, क्वालिटी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड पब्लिक सर्विसेज, और जो किसी इमोटिव इशू जैसे रिलीजन, कास्ट या लैंग्वेज की पॉलिटिक्स ना करे। तो ऐसी पार्टी को काफी लोग पसंद करेंगे, क्योंकि कोई भी करंट पार्टी रियल इश्यूज पर सीरियसली फोकस करना ही नहीं चाहती। बाकी ओडू अकाउंटिंग ऐप का लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में है, मेरे कहने से एक बार इनको चेकआउट जरूर करें। अगर ये वाला वीडियो आपको अच्छा लगा तो अगला वीडियो आपको और अच्छा लगेगा, स्क्रीन पे लगा दिया है, क्लिक करो और अभी देखो।